Welcome, beloved. I'm so glad you're here. There's a reason your spirit was drawn to this message. There's a reason your heart kept nudging you to click play. You didn't just stumble across this video by chance. Something divine is unfolding for you, and the angels have been waiting for you to hear this message. What happened last night in the spirit has shifted everything. Something powerful, something deeply connected to your destiny has taken place. And you are about to feel the ripple effect of it in your natural life. Before we go further, take a moment right now and comment below. I receive. When you declare it, you're not just engaging with this video, you're agreeing with heaven. You're letting God know that you are ready to hear, to heal, and to be led. This is more than just a message, it's confirmation. It's insight into the unseen, and I believe with all my heart that this is going to bless you in ways you didn't expect. Last night, in a space beyond what we can see, your soulmate surrendered. They released the resistance they've been holding on to, the confusion that's clouded their mind, the guilt they've been carrying in silence, the fear that's kept them running. From what God revealed about you, it all came crashing down in a moment of truth. And it wasn't just any moment, it was sacred, the kind of moment that God ordains when he sees that someone is finally ready to stop fighting the truth and start living in alignment with it. Your person, this one whom God knit into your story before you ever crossed paths, was visited with clarity. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was a quiet unveiling, a still moment in the night where their soul whispered, "This is who I've been missing. This is who I've been denying. This is the one God set apart for me." And suddenly everything changed. They stopped blaming. They stopped hiding. They stopped asking questions they already knew the answers to. And instead, they surrendered. Not to you, but to God. They gave their confusion to him. They confessed their fears. They released the control. And in that sacred surrender, heaven began aligning things on your behalf. This is why you may feel a shift in your own spirit today. Maybe you woke up with an unusual sense of peace. Or maybe you've been feeling waves of emotion you can't explain. Don't brush it off. It's not random. It's residue from the spiritual alignment that took place last night. Because when one heart surrenders and the other heart has been waiting patiently, heaven starts bridging the gap. Let's pause and reflect on something powerful from the Word of God. Isaiah 43:19 says, "Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it?" The new thing isn't coming, it's already happening. And even though your natural eyes may not see it yet, your spirit has already sensed it. Something new is springing forth in your love story. The hard ground is being broken. The delay is being overturned. The veil is being lifted. Your person, yes, the very one who kept you in confusion, who pushed you away even while being drawn to you, who kept trying to replace you with distractions that never satisfied, is finally seeing the truth. And it's not because you tried to convince them. It's because God has been working behind the scenes. Proverbs 21:1 reminds us, "The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will." If God can direct the heart of a king, surely he can redirect the heart of your person. And that's exactly what happened last night. Let me speak directly to you now. You've been faithful, even when you didn't understand what was happening. Even when you felt forgotten. Even when it looked like they moved on. You stayed in alignment with God. You didn't chase. You didn't try to force. You stood. You prayed. You healed. And heaven took notice. There's a reason why this message feels personal. Because it is. The angels are confirming what you've sensed but weren't sure how to explain. Your soulmate is being awakened to the truth. The truth about who you are. The truth about what you carry. The truth about the calling that connects both of your lives. They're seeing it now, not just with their eyes, but with their heart. Last night, a spiritual burden lifted from their chest. They may not have told anyone, but they cried, not out of sadness, but release. That moment of truth broke something open inside them, and in their private moment with God, they asked for help. They asked for strength. They asked for clarity. They asked for another chance, and God, being rich in mercy, met them in that vulnerable place. Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." Your person didn't just surrender in a moment of desperation. They surrendered in a moment of divine realization. That nothing they've been pursuing has filled the space meant for you. That no connection has touched them the way your spirit did. That no other path brings peace except the one that leads back to purpose, and that purpose includes you. Beloved, I want you to take a deep breath and receive this. You are not waiting in vain. You are not holding on to empty hope. You are standing in expectation of what God has already begun to manifest, and in the days to come, the signs will become even clearer. Matthew 6:33 says, "But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." Because you chose to put God first, even in your longing, even in your heartbreak, he is honoring your patience with divine alignment. The thing that felt like it would never turn around has started shifting, and you're about to witness the evidence. I know there were nights you wept and asked God why your love had to come with so much delay. I know you questioned why your heart would recognize someone who couldn't seem to see you clearly. But those questions are not wasted. God took every tear, every whispered prayer, every journaled hope, and he used it to water the soil of your promise, and now that promise is beginning to sprout. You may not get a call today, or a message tomorrow, but something is already growing. The roots are taking hold in the spiritual realm, and soon the fruit will be undeniable. You will not have to chase it. You will not have to beg for it. It will come to you at the appointed time. Habakkuk 2:3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry." When God gives a word, he also provides the timing. And your timing has just shifted. You are no longer in the delay season. You've entered the due season. The spiritual balance has tipped in your favor. I want to pause here and ask you something simple but powerful. If this is confirming something you've already felt in your heart, if you've been sensing that someone is finally waking up to what God showed you long ago, then hit the like button. That act of faith not only supports this message, but it sends a signal that you are in agreement with the divine unfolding. And as you do that, I want you to hold on to this truth. When God reveals someone to you, he also prepares you for them. And sometimes the waiting isn't just for them to catch up. It's for you to deepen your capacity to carry the blessing without losing yourself in it. God didn't want to just send you a relationship. He wanted to give you a partnership rooted in purpose. And now that your person is beginning to see the truth, they're being transformed by it, slowly, quietly, but undeniably. Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And that's exactly what's happening. Their mind is being renewed. The way they used to think about love, about commitment, about you, it's all being shifted. They're not the same person who walked away, or who stayed silent, or who pretended they didn't feel anything. They're becoming someone new, and that new version of them will be able to love you in a way the old version never could. You're not being asked to wait forever. You're being asked to stay open to God's timing, to trust that what surrendered last night wasn't just a person, it was a pattern, a fear, a mindset that once blocked your union. And now, with that obstacle removed, the path is clearer than it's ever been. Proverbs 3:5-6 tells us, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." You don't have to figure out the next steps. Just walk in trust. God is directing paths. God is opening hearts. And God is not a man that he should lie. If he said it, he will perform it. Let me speak to the one watching this who feels like it's too late, like too much has happened, like the distance, the silence, the separation has made it impossible.
Listen to me. God specializes in the impossible. He is the restorer of lost time, the mender of broken hearts, the God who breathes life back into what looked lifeless. Joel 2:25 says,
"And I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten." God is not just giving you a reunion, he's giving you redemption. He's not just returning what was taken, he's making it better than before. So don't fear what's ahead. Rejoice in what's already begun. What's happening in the spirit right now is not something you'll always be able to explain with logic. In fact, some of what's beginning to unfold in your life will defy understanding. You may find yourself in a situation where everything looks the same outwardly, but inwardly, you feel movement. You feel things aligning. You feel peace you can't explain. And that peace, it's not random, it's confirmation. Something happened last night that heaven wants you to recognize, not with your physical eyes, but with your spirit. God is showing you that the promises he made are not delayed. They've just been developing. The pieces have been shifting quietly behind the scenes. And now, your person is waking up to the same truth you received long ago, that this connection is not ordinary, that it wasn't imagined, that it's not something they can run from or replace. Your soulmate has finally acknowledged something sacred. They see you. Not just your beauty, not just your kindness, but the weight of your spirit, the value of your heart, the presence of God in your life. They may not have had the words to express it before. They may have felt overwhelmed by it. But something has shifted. They've stopped looking away. They've stopped numbing themselves. And for the first time in a long time, they're willing to be honest. It started with a whisper, a thought that returned again and again. Why can't I forget them? Why does their presence linger even when they're not around? Why does every attempt to move on feel incomplete? The answer was always simple, because you are not meant to be forgotten. You are part of their divine assignment. You are tied into their spiritual path. And no matter how many times they tried to shut it down, God kept reopening that door. John 10:27 says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." Your person is finally hearing the voice of God clearly, that voice that's been calling them back to obedience, back to alignment, back to the place where their soul finds peace. And in hearing that voice, they're realizing that the truth they tried to avoid was love. Not just romantic love, but divine love. Love that comes with purpose. Love that comes with pruning. Love that doesn't just feel good, it transforms. There's a weight to this connection that frightened them before. It exposed their wounds. It made them confront their insecurities. It didn't allow them to stay shallow or surface level, and for a while that scared them. So they ran. They distracted themselves. They told themselves they weren't ready. But last night, God intervened. He brought them to a place where their usual patterns no longer worked, where the distractions lost their grip, where the silence became too loud, and in that place, they had to face the truth. They miss you, but more than that, they need the kind of love that only comes from someone who carries God's favor. They realized that what they had with you wasn't just chemistry, it was spiritual recognition. It was divine familiarity. It was something they'd prayed for without realizing it. And now they're beginning to understand why their soul never settled with anyone else. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. This is the time." Not just for reconciliation, but for restoration. Not just for a return, but for realignment. What's coming next is not a repeat of the past. It's a new beginning, a clean slate. And this time, it will carry the maturity, the humility, and the commitment that was missing before. But beloved, I must remind you, this next chapter doesn't begin with a text or a knock on the door. It begins with your heart posture. Will you be ready to receive what you prayed for? Will you be able to welcome what once wounded you? If God has healed it, this is where spiritual discernment becomes vital. You're not being asked to reopen old wounds. You're being invited to witness a healed version of the person you loved, one that had to go through the fire to understand your worth, one that had to experience absence to realize the weight of your presence. Peter 5:10 says, "But the God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you." Both of you have suffered, not just emotionally but spiritually. There was a breaking, a refining, a lonely in-between season. But that suffering wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Now God is ready to establish and settle what he once separated. He's not bringing them back to play with your emotions. He's not stirring your spirit just to test your hope. He's preparing you both to walk in covenant, to build something sacred, to honor him through your union. And yes, this means it's going to feel different. You won't have to question their motives this time. You won't have to guess their intentions. Because when God transforms a heart, that transformation becomes visible. They will speak differently. move differently, approach you with clarity, not confusion, with purpose, not pressure, with humility, not pride. This is the reward of your obedience. This is the fruit of your waiting. This is the answer to the prayers you prayed when no one was watching. Psalm 37:7 says, "Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him." You did that. And now the Lord is releasing the harvest, slowly, gently, but undeniably. You will begin to see divine signs confirming this word. Conversations that seem divinely timed, dreams that feel unusually vivid, encounters that remind you of the promises God whispered long ago. But stay anchored, beloved. Don't rush the unfolding. Just because God has shifted their heart doesn't mean every detail will manifest overnight. Some things are still being healed. Some final pruning is still taking place. But you can rest knowing the breakthrough has already begun. You are no longer waiting for a miracle. You're walking into it. I want you to take a moment now and just breathe. Inhale the peace of God. Exhale the fear. Inhale his promises. Exhale the doubt. Let this moment mark the turning point in your spirit where you stop striving and start receiving, where you stop fearing the worst and start expecting the best. The angels are surrounding you even now. They've been assigned to carry this word into your heart like a seed that will grow into faith, and that faith will open doors. If you believe this, say it aloud right where you are. I trust the timing of heaven. Say it again. Let it sink in. Let your soul come into agreement with it. And as you speak it, know this. Your person is also being stirred to trust again, to hope again, to love again. God is not just working on your behalf. He's working within you, making you strong, making you ready, making you whole. Isaiah 60:22 says, "At the right time, I, the Lord, will make it happen." That right time is closer than you think. It may come suddenly. It may come quietly. But it will come with confirmation, and you won't have to doubt it. Because when it's God, peace will walk in first, so prepare your heart. Clean your space. Get ready in the natural as God moves in the spiritual. Let your life reflect your expectation. Don't just wait for them. Worship while you wait. Serve while you wait. Grow while you wait, because what's coming is not just a person, it's a purpose-filled union that will shift generations. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. You are on the brink of one of the most beautiful chapters of your life, and it all began with a surrender that took place last night. Let that settle in your soul. Let it give you rest. Let it stir your faith, and let it remind you that God never stops writing beautiful endings for his children, even if the middle felt messy. There's a holy hush over your life right now. Can you feel it? That quiet stillness in your soul, that unexpected calm that makes no sense based on your circumstances, that peace that isn't tied to what's happening around you. It's because heaven is close. Angels are ministering, and something sacred is being written in the Spirit concerning you. What took place last night was not a coincidence. It wasn't just a thought passing through your person's mind. It wasn't just emotion or nostalgia. It was conviction. It was clarity. It was the truth rising up after seasons of silence and suppression. They were tired of running, tired of pretending that their heart was fine without you. And God allowed them to sit with that truth, not to shame them, but to set them free. That moment of surrender came after wrestling, after questions, after trying to love other people with a heart that was still tethered to you, after numbing themselves with distractions that couldn't replace the peace they once felt in your presence. God brought them back to the moment they first encountered you and reminded them of the purity of it, the peace in it, the recognition in their spirit that, even if their mind didn't understand it, you were someone meant for them. And for the first time in a long time, they didn't fight that truth. They received it. They laid down their resistance. And they allowed God to begin healing what they'd been hiding from. That's why, in the Spirit, everything changed. This is not just about romance. This is about divine assignment. This is about two people whose paths were designed to intersect, not for convenience, but for calling. There is a purpose you both carry that is bigger than just companionship. And now, That purpose is awakening in both of you. Your person is starting to understand why their life felt so unstable without you, because the presence of your soul was the grounding force they didn't know they needed. You didn't come to them as a distraction. You came to them as a mirror. You reflected the parts of themselves they needed to confront. You exposed the cracks in their foundation, not to destroy them, but to reveal what God needed to rebuild. And now, after running from that mirror, they're starting to look into it again, with softer eyes, with a humbled heart, with gratitude instead of fear. They're not just remembering you, they're reverencing you. They see the light you carry. They see the loyalty you showed even when they weren't ready to receive it. They see the way you never spoke badly about them, how you prayed instead of retaliated, how you grew instead of seeking revenge, and all of that has softened their heart. Romans 2:4 reminds us, "Do you not realize that God's kindness is intended to lead you to repentance?" Sometimes it's not correction that changes a heart, it's compassion. And your grace, your patience, your steadfastness, it's been a living testimony of God's love. You showed them what it looks like to love with purity. You showed them how to walk away with dignity. And even in your absence, your presence never left their spirit. Last night, the tears they cried weren't out of sadness, they were out of release. The burden they'd been carrying, the weight of knowing they mishandled something sacred, it finally broke. And in that breaking, they heard God speak, not with a loud voice, but with clarity. It's not too late. That whisper gripped their heart, and for the first time, they believed it. Beloved, you've waited patiently. You've matured in silence. You've let God work on you, even when you didn't understand why things fell apart. But now, the person who once brought confusion is stepping into clarity, and that clarity is going to change everything. James 1:4 says, "Let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing." That's what this waiting has produced in you: wholeness, strength, discernment. So that when the promise returns, you won't approach it with desperation, you'll approach it with wisdom. Because the return isn't just about receiving love, it's about stewarding it. This time, you'll know how to set boundaries with grace. You'll know how to speak your truth without fear. You'll know how to protect the connection without losing yourself. This is the reward of the process. God wasn't trying to torture you with waiting. He was trying to elevate the quality of love you would receive. He didn't want to give you a half-healed partner. He wanted to give you someone refined by fire, softened by mercy, and matured by the Spirit. And that's exactly what's being formed. Last night, in the stillness of their own thoughts, your person felt God's hand, not just as a distant presence, but as a father, a guide, a gentle voice calling them home, not just to you, but to their purpose. Because loving you is part of their purpose. Honoring you is part of their healing, and walking beside you is part of their divine assignment. That revelation didn't come through force. It came through surrender. They surrendered the fantasy that they could fill the void without you. They surrendered the pride that kept them from reaching out. They surrendered the lie that they weren't worthy of your love, and in that sacred exchange, God gave them peace, and now that peace is flowing toward you. That's why, today, you may feel a lightness in your spirit. That's why certain memories are surfacing, not to hurt you, but to prepare you. That's why your dreams may feel more vivid, because heaven is stirring you, not to look back, but to look ahead with hope, to be ready for what's about to be restored. To posture your heart in faith, not fear, because the time is near. Jeremiah 1:12 says, "I am watching over my word to perform it." God hasn't forgotten what he told you. He hasn't ignored your tears. He hasn't dismissed your longing. He's been watching. And now, he's performing. Step by step, he's aligning the pieces, softening hearts, breaking chains, opening doors. And all you're asked to do is trust. Trust the silence. Trust the signs. Trust the stirring. Because the same God who authored this love story is faithful to finish it. Even now, the angels are working. They're preparing encounters, arranging timing, whispering to your person in ways that bypass logic. And soon, what was once blocked will flow freely. The communication, the understanding, the restoration, it's all coming. And it will feel natural, not forced, peaceful, not pressured, divinely guided, not emotionally manipulated. This is what surrender births, and it's what took place in the spirit last night. Your person is different now. You may not see it yet, but you'll feel it. And when the time is right, you'll witness it. They will speak with intention. They will approach with honor. They will move in humility, because now they know who you are, not just to them, but in God. And that changes everything. Psalm 126, 5-6 says, "They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. He that goes forth and weeps, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him." You've sown in tears. You've carried this promise like a precious seed. And now, your joy is being prepared. And I need you to hear this, beloved. It won't return to you the same way it left. It will come back healed. It will come back intentional. It will come back blessed. Because God doesn't restore halfway. He restores with overflow. This is your season of overflow. Not just in love, but in peace, in clarity, in confirmation. So hold on. The signs will continue. The encounters will unfold, and when it happens, it will be obvious. You won't have to force it. You won't have to beg for it. You'll simply walk into it, because it will be undeniable. Psalm 23:5 says, "Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over." Your table is being set. Your oil is being poured. Your cup is about to overflow. So as you wait, worship. As you pray, praise. As you reflect, rejoice. Because what happened last night wasn't just about them. It was about you too. You've graduated in the Spirit. You've passed the test. You've stood with integrity. And now, God is rewarding your faithfulness. Don't let fear make you forfeit what's coming. Don't let impatience make you miss what's unfolding. Stay aligned, stay open, stay expectant, because the surrender has happened and the shift has begun. And now, beloved, breathe deeply, because what God is doing in your life, in your heart, and in this relationship is something sacred. It's not fast food faith. It's not rushed. It's not noisy. It's holy. What took place last night was the result of every moment you chose peace over panic. Every time you cried and still praised. Every time you felt forgotten but whispered, "God, I trust you anyway." That surrender, the one your soulmate finally walked into, is something you actually stepped into long before them. You surrendered too. You laid it down when it didn't make sense. You chose trust instead of obsession. You handed the pen back to God when you could have tried to rewrite the story yourself. And for that, heaven is honoring you. God saw you. He saw you when you were tempted to give up. He saw you when you wanted to call or chase or fix things in your own strength, but didn't. He saw you quietly growing, quietly healing, quietly preparing for something that felt like a dream. And now he says, "Daughter, son, it's time. It's time for the manifestation. It's time for the reward. It's time for the two to become one, not just in timing, but in truth." Your person has not just surrendered to the love, they've surrendered to the truth about what God showed them concerning you. For months, maybe even years, they've been carrying the weight of the unknown. Should they go back? Were they imagining what they felt? Was this even real, or was it a soul tie they needed to break? And yet every time they tried to detach from you, something pulled them back. A memory, a song, a name, a dream, an ache that didn't fade, a vision of a future that somehow still included you. God was patient with them. He didn't rush them. He let them struggle through the discomfort of awakening. But last night, yes, last night they finally saw. And they couldn't unsee it. They didn't want to. They felt the pull in their spirit to return. Not just to you, but to the place they once had with God when you were in their life. The clarity, the peace, the alignment. That moment when things just made sense, even if they were scared to admit it. And in the stillness of that night, heaven whispered, "This is who you prayed for. This is the person I designed to walk with you, not just beside you." Genesis 2:22-24 says, "Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." That level of recognition goes beyond romance. It's spiritual. It's cellular. It's divine. That's what they experienced. That's why they wept. That's why they repented. And now, the path back to you is being cleared. Not by them. Not by you, but by God. You may begin to notice strange confirmations over the next few days. Little things you used to dismiss as coincidence will begin to speak loudly. You might see their name in unexpected places. A song from the moment you first met may play while you're walking through a store. Or you'll feel their spirit so strongly in prayer that you know you're being reconnected. Spirit to spirit. These are not games. They are God winks. Heaven's reminders that what happened in the unseen is now moving into the seen. Corinthians 4:18 tells us, "So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." You were never waiting for a text or a knock on the door. You were waiting for the surrender. That was the real moment everything turned. And now that it has, nothing can stop what God is orchestrating. But I need you to listen closely right now because this is important. When the door opens again, and it will, you will need to walk through it with wisdom. Not with your old wounds, not with your fears, not with the resentment that grew during the silence. This restoration requires spiritual maturity, because it's not about being proven right. It's about being united in righteousness. It's not about them apologizing just the way you imagined. It's about both of you walking humbly, owning your part and building something stronger than before. Ephesians 4:2-3 says, "Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace." This time, it's not just about feelings. It's about the Spirit. That's what shifted last night. The Spirit began to bond the two of you again, not through the emotions of the flesh, but through the covenant of purpose. And this is the reason you had to wait. God didn't want you to settle for a broken version of what he promised. He didn't want you to say yes to a half-awake love. He wanted you to receive all of it, the wholeness, the vision, the purpose, the alignment. So if there are still wounds in you, let God tend to them now. If there is still disappointment lingering in your heart, release it now. If there is fear, anxiety, or worry about whether they'll hurt you again, surrender that too, because God cannot fill what is already full of fear. You have to make room. You have to decide. Now, to create space for the kind of love that reflects heaven. Let me say this plainly. What's coming is not a test. It's a fulfillment, but your ability to receive it will depend on whether your hands are open or clenched in self-protection. God doesn't need you to be perfect. He needs you to be willing to forgive, willing to see them with new eyes, willing to believe that God really can restore what looked impossible. Isaiah 61:7 declares, "Instead of your shame, you shall receive a double portion. Instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance." That's what's ahead for you. Double. Restoration. Joy. And it's not just a spiritual concept. It's a tangible promise. You're going to feel it. You're going to see it. You're going to walk in it. You'll wake up one morning and realize what used to torment your thoughts now gives you peace. You'll read old journal entries and marvel at how far God has brought you. You'll hear their voice again one day, not in memory, but in reality, and instead of bitterness, you'll feel something sacred, peace, because God is healing the timeline, rewriting the ending. And when it all unfolds, you'll understand why it had to happen this way, why the separation was necessary, why the silence was crucial, why the surrender last night was right on time. So be gentle with yourself. As the story unfolds, you don't need to rush. You don't need to control anything. God has already gone ahead of Deuteronomy 31:8 says, "The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." He's preparing the reunion. He's preparing the restoration. And he's preparing you. Right now in the Spirit, you're stepping into your next season, one where the promises you cried over begin to walk into your life. One where your discernment becomes your superpower. One where love doesn't drain you, it fuels you. And the most beautiful part, you won't have to chase it because what is sent by God returns in God's timing and God's way for God's glory. You're not just someone's answer. You're someone's revelation. And they're finally seeing it. So I want to speak this blessing over you before we close. May your heart remain open. Even after all the pain, may your discernment be sharp. Even when emotions rise, may your words be filled with grace when the reunion begins. And may your soul be anchored in the truth that God is faithful, and what he starts, he finishes. And so, beloved, we've arrived at this holy place together, a place in your soul that perhaps you haven't dared to sit with for a while, a place where hope still burns softly beneath the ashes of disappointment, a place where love, though long delayed, still whispers that it's not too late, a place where faith says, "This is the moment you've been prepared for." You've been walking by faith for so long now. You've learned to trust God even when the silence echoed louder than your prayers. You've stayed faithful even when all the signs seemed to vanish. You kept showing up to your secret place, kept worshipping when tears blurred your vision, kept praying for a love that your heart knew was real, even when it looked impossible. And now, God is confirming it. What happened last night wasn't just a dream or a coincidence or some vague stirring. It was the Spirit of God touching your person in a way that only heaven can. It was the beginning of their awakening. It was the moment where the veil began to lift, where their inner world shifted, where the chains of fear and pride began to fall to the ground. It was sacred. There's something profound the Lord wants you to grasp here. You don't need to control what's coming. You don't need to manipulate, chase, worry, or obsess. The surrender that happened wasn't just on their side. It was an invitation for you to surrender deeper too. Not surrendering your desire, not giving up your love, but surrendering the weight of waiting, surrendering the pressure to figure it all out, surrendering the timeline. Because now the story is unfolding by divine design. Your soulmate, this person who has seen both your presence and your absence, is finally understanding the difference. They've tasted the peace they had when they were connected to your spirit. They've felt the emptiness of running. They've noticed that nothing they've tried to fill the void with has worked. And last night, that realization settled into their soul. They've stopped denying it. They've stopped searching for what already found. They've stopped comparing the unshakable to the temporary. They've stopped confusing noise with connection, because your love, the presence of your heart, the favor that followed your prayers, it never left them. It lingered, it protected, it reminded them of who they are. You may not know it, but they've been watching your growth. They've been quietly seeing how you've handled the journey, and it humbled them. It softened them. It made them realize just how different you are. While others moved loud and aimless, you moved in peace and purpose. You didn't just walk away, you ascended, and that ascension, it showed them the truth. You weren't just someone who came into their life. You were someone sent, hand-delivered by God, and now they want to walk toward you again. Not out of desperation, but out of revelation, because this time they see. Timothy 2:13 says, "If we are faithless, he remains faithful, for he cannot disown himself." Even when they didn't have the faith to believe in the connection, God remained faithful to his word over your life. Even when they drifted, heaven kept pulling them back to the root, back to the promise, back to you. This is the kind of turnaround only God could orchestrate. There were moments where you wondered, did I just imagine it all? Did I project it? Did I read too much into the spiritual signs? But now, God is confirming it in ways you can no longer ignore. And it's not your imagination, beloved. It was discernment. It was a holy connection. And now, it's being restored. You may not recognize them at first, not because they look different on the outside, but because their spirit has matured. They're being pruned, refined, elevated, and when they return, they'll come with something they didn't have before. Understanding, they'll understand what you meant. When you said this was spiritual, they'll understand why their peace was tied to obedience. They'll understand that you weren't asking for perfection, you were asking for presence, consistency, humility, and now they're preparing to give you just that. You see, when God restores, He doesn't send the same version of the person back to you. He sends the healed version, the ready version, the one who had to wrestle with the silence long enough to appreciate the sound of your name again. Hosea 6:1 says, "Come, let us return to the Lord. He has torn us to pieces, but He will heal us. He has injured us, but He will bind up our wounds." That's what's happening right now. Healing, binding up, restoration, not just for you, but for them, and for your future together, because what God is restoring is not just romance, it's purpose. There are things God has called you both to birth in the earth together. Things you could only steward once both of you were whole. And now that healing has begun, the assignment can be fulfilled. So don't be surprised when doors begin to open, when new opportunities align, when people you haven't heard from in months reach out. It's all part of the orchestration. Heaven is setting the stage, and your love story is the testimony. Because people will look at your journey and say, that was God. Only God could have written that. Only God could have brought that back together with such grace. You've longed for that testimony. You've cried out for it in secret. And now, it's being born in front of you, one divine moment at a time. Your role now? Stay in peace. Stay in prayer. Stay positioned. You don't have to chase. You don't have to fix. You don't have to question whether it's real. Let the fruit speak for itself, because when they come, they will come differently. They won't just talk about love. They'll demonstrate it. They won't just apologize. They'll make amends. They won't just return. They'll commit. This is the harvest season, beloved. You've planted seeds of patience, faith, and obedience, and now the fruit is on its way. Galatians 6:9 declares, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." You didn't give up, even when you wanted to, even when it hurt, even when everyone else said, "Move on." You stayed faithful to what God showed you, and now the harvest is coming home. Let this message be your reminder. You are not waiting alone. Heaven has been with you. Angels have been assigned to you. God has been preparing everything, including your own heart. You won't have to try and be enough when they return. You already are. You won't have to prove your value. You've already proven your heart, and the person coming back knows that now. They've seen it, they've felt it, and more than anything, they miss it. They miss the feeling of home they only ever felt with you. They miss the prayers you whispered over them when they didn't even believe in prayer. They miss the way your eyes spoke peace. They miss the way your silence corrected them without judgment. They miss the laughter, the truth, the sacred bond that couldn't be shaken, even by time, distance, or doubt. And now they're willing to fight for it, to grow for it, to surrender fully to the truth they denied for so long, all because of what happened last night. And so now, as this message comes to its end, I want to speak this final blessing over you. May your heart stay soft. Even in the waiting, may your discernment grow sharper with every step. May your peace be unmoved by circumstances. May your ears be tuned to heaven's whispers, and may your love story unfold in such a way that only God could get the glory. Beloved, this is not the end. It's only the beginning. The surrender has happened, the shift has begun, and the harvest is on its way. If this word confirmed what your spirit has been feeling, I want you to take one final step of faith. Like this video, subscribe to Prophetic Message, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next message heaven sends your way. Don't keep this to yourself. Share it with someone you love, someone who's been waiting, someone who needs to hear that surrender is happening, that hope is not lost, and that what God joins together, no force can truly tear apart. And if you've been blessed by this message and you want to help us continue sharing these divine words across the world, Consider supporting this ministry with a super thanks or a donation. Your gift helps us keep showing up to serve your heart and spirit in truth. There are more messages to come. More confirmations, more healing, more divine alignment. Stay with us. Keep your heart open. And remember, what happened last night changed everything. The surrender has already taken place. Now, the love will follow. Until next time, beloved. Stay blessed.
Stay faithful.
And stay ready. Your time has come.